Over the last 3.5 years, I have had three, now four different quantum leaps in my business. And if y'all don't know what a quantum leap is really accomplishing far more with less time and less effort. It's really going from level one to like a level 10 in a short amount of time. So I want to kind of talk about how I've been able to quantum leap my coaching business from literally 0 to 100K months. I did that in 2 years, and now we're on track for our biggest month ever. So I'm so excited to talk about this because one of the things that y'all are going to be noticing in the podcast and just in my overall branding is really bringing in a lot more spirituality and mindset, because that's really the concepts that have changed my life. I'm a strategy girl through and through, don't get me wrong, but when I look at the big picture of my business and my life and my success and my relationships and just all the things that I love, it goes back to my faith and my belief and my spirituality. So I'm excited to share more about that on the podcast, more about that in my mastermind that is opening soon. And just overall, like as we go through this next iteration of Lattice & Co., whatever that's going to look like, I already have an idea. I'm excited to bring y'all along because it's been a long time coming, and I finally feel so freaking excited to share all of this with you all. And if you're ready for the ride, let's go. Put your seatbelt on, honey, because it's about to be amazing. I'm so excited to share with y'all about quantum leaping, universal laws, like understanding that material, because that's material that's really changed my life, coupled with the strategy, chef's kiss, amazing. So I'm just letting y'all know, buckle up, because it's about to get real. It's about to get raw. I mean, it always has been, but I'm going to be intertwining a lot more belief work, strategy, mindset, because that's the stuff that really changes the game, right? All this is it's all 99.9% mindset. And if I can get y'all 1% better every single day, or get you to a quantum leap in your business, in your life, because of your mindset, like those are the upgrades I live for. So I'm excited I've just had these big revelations over the last couple of weeks about where I need to be and what I need to be talking about. The strategy stuff's not going away, right? I'm really looking at myself like the strategic spiritual advisor and really helping y'all get your upgrade in every single way possible. And I know that to get you to the upgrade, to get you to that 7-figure upgrade, it's going to require a lot of thought work, a lot of mindset, coupled with the right action, right? I always say manifestation plus action equals freaking epic results, and that's what I'm here for. So it feels so good to say that. It just feels so good, and I'm here for it. So hopefully y'all are here for it too. So let's get into the podcast today, y'all, because quantum leaping I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. And if you've never really experienced a quantum leap in your life, the time is now. Okay, so I really want to break down my 4 quantum leaps. I said 3, but it's technically 4 because I'm in the middle of the 4th one. But I want to kind of talk about all the quantum leaps I've had to get me to this point. So like I said, a quantum leap is really you doing far more with less effort and less time, and not having the mindset of working hard. You're going from U to U squared, as this beautiful book talks about. It's called a U squared. You guys should definitely get it. I'm reading it in my mindset coaching program that I'm in right now, and it's literally changing my life. So I'm just excited to help y'all quantum leap, because quantum leaping it's not for the ordinary, right? If you want to live an extraordinary life, quantum leaping is how you do it, and you can have a quantum leap at any time. So let's kind of talk about my first quantum leap. So my first quantum leap happened back in October to November 2019. So I was making about 3K or so a month in my business, and I was feeling it. I was so happy. I was obviously really excited, but I knew that 3K a month was like basically one paycheck that I was making before in my full-time job. So, and I was making 2 paychecks a month, and I was like, okay, 3K a month is nowhere near where I need to be with my goals. And I had some, really big needs at the time. So I kind of did some research, leaned in, asked God, really, like, what do I need to be doing? Because what I was doing at the time, I was trying so hard. I felt like I was posting on social media all day. I was just showing up, studying YouTube videos. I was just like doing all the doing, but I wasn't being who I needed to be. And what this quantum leap taught me when I went from 3K a month to 20K a month in November 2019, literally overnight, what I was doing in 2019 at the initial start of my business, I was making it harder than it needed to be, period. Like, I was doing all the things, trying to listen to all the gurus, but I wasn't trusting myself, right? And I was asking these questions that weren't honestly good questions. I was asking the questions of what do I need to do every day, like, etc. But really the question that I came about was, who do I need to be? Right. And what happened in those moments when I had that conversation, I needed to change my attitude and stop talking about how hard it was, how complicated it was, and how it was for those people, not for me. I changed my attitude. And then B, I realized that overcomplicating it was making it harder. And if I could just figure out a way to just go cut through the noise and just get to the root, which was talking to people, then that would be a game changer. So what did I do? I stopped all my efforts. I only focused on having conversations, period. Okay. Now I did have conversations through content. My secret sauce is I showed up live on social media multiple times per week, which wasn't hard. It was so easy. At the time, I felt like writing felt really hard for me. And I was forcing myself to do a bunch of writing when like I naturally was better on video. So instead of doing a bunch of writing, which I love now, but at the time I was just like, I didn't know how to construct captions and all that in the ways that could compel my audience. But what I did know is that when I got on video, I really moved a room. So I decided to cut the crap in the middle, take all the things out that I didn't like and that I wasn't good at, and only did the things that I wanted to do, which was go on live and talk to people. So I would go on live a few times a week, do a call to action. Hey, comment below, send me a DM, book a call. That was it, literally. And at the time, I really just had my personal profile on Facebook. Ironically, my first high ticket client came from Instagram, but mostly I was showing up on Facebook. So I went live like 2-3 times a week. I did a call to action, and then I would have conversations with people in the DMs and then book them on a sales call. That's it. That's all that I did to get to 20K a month. I know that sounds crazy and like it can't be that simple, but it really was. I started to embody the business. I started to embody the woman that was like, I'm not going to work so hard, right? Now I was doing volume. I was definitely competing with volume, but as the days went on, I remember going to bed at like 11 and being like, I'm going to wake up at 6:30 and I'm so excited. I'm going to be grateful, say my gratitude, my affirmations, but I'm so excited tomorrow I get to talk to people. I'm so excited I get to have conversations. I'm so excited that I get to DM people, right? And yes, I was doing cold DMs, but you know what? I was doing it from a place and from an energy that was like, I want to serve you. That's where I was doing it from a place of. I wasn't doing it from a place of I needed money, because Lord knows in those moments I really didn't need money, okay? But I was doing it from a place of I'm so excited to serve you. I'm so excited to help you. And I'm so excited to see how I can help you transform your life. That's the place that I was doing it from, right? I was still selling, right? I didn't turn off the sales mindset. What I did was place service over everything else, because at the end of the day, right, like I know a lot of people, and I used to say this all the time, like selling a service, it is, but I was leading with service knowing that my intent was to sell them. That was my intent. That's a conversation that more of us need to have, that it's okay to have the intent. It's more than okay to have the intent to sell people. It's about how you go about it, right? So for me, in those DM conversations on Facebook, back and forth, right? I would spend, hours a day, but I was being the person that was grateful. I was being the person that was consistent. I was being the person that was leading with service, with a heart of gratitude and a heart of, change, and a heart of wanting to deeply impact these people's lives, help them make money. So, and I was making money, right? So doing that led me to get on calls and get people to DM me and get people to say, hey, like I just started getting calls booked just off my lives. I hadn't really had that before, but I kept showing up and I was consistent, right? And I wasn't killing myself to do it. I was working, I was definitely putting in 8 to 10 hour days, but in that moment, like I was doing that for a corporate job anyway. So the fact that I took that same energy, channeled it into the things that yielded the highest results, and stopped working so hard on the things that didn't matter, is what actually produced the results. People like sometimes can't believe like that's literally all I did to get to 20K a month. good energy, great attitude, got on calls, served people, people paid me. That's it. People were reaching out for me. Like the first two clients that I'd signed in November, they had reached out to me. I didn't even cold DM them. They had reached out to me because they had saw my lives. They had saw that I was helping people. They saw that I was helpful, right? So it's a game changer. I ended up signing 4 clients that month at 5K, which was crazy when literally months before my life was in shambles and it was just a mess. Another story. That's another story for another time. I'll do a podcast on how my life fell apart and then it fell back together within just like 4 to 5 months. It was great. So that was my first quantum leap, right? The lesson I learned in that was that stop making shit so damn hard. Okay, like get back to the basics. Okay, so that was the first thing that I learned with that quantum leap. The second quantum leap was in June 2020. So I will say that's when the world was like in a massive uproar. That's when George Floyd had been murdered, and it was just a very big, what's the word I want to say? The world was divided at the time, and I was sitting back looking at that knowing like I had just went through a pretty like semi-traumatic experience, I would say. Like I think it was the day after George Floyd was murdered, I got pulled over by a cop and he was not very kind. He was super rude. My anxiety was through the roof and I was just like, oh my God. And I just kept praying and praying and praying. I was like, please let me get out of this. Like my tags were expired from Colorado, which was my fault. So definitely nothing to do with the officer, but it was how he had approached me and how he was just like, didn't even give me room to like talk. Like he just was like, it was rough. And that time period was really difficult. And I had so much anxiety. So I had sat with that for a few days and had just saw how online everybody was divided. And, you know, I have some different thoughts now that I'll be happy to share in a future episode. But at the time with the tools that I had, you know, I really was feeling very overwhelmed and very not supported by a lot of my peers at the time, right? That didn't look like me. So I took to social media as everybody, and I looked at it as, you know, as an opportunity to educate and inform people. And in this moment, I remember sitting right in my apartment being like, I was sitting on my couch, my apartment in Old Town Scottsdale. And this is my first apartment in Scottsdale because I had previously lived with a friend when I first moved to Arizona for like 6 months. But I was sitting in my apartment and I was just like, okay, my audience had literally grown overnight because everybody was like trying to follow Black creators and coaches and things, which was great, you know? And I was like, I have an opportunity. And my ego was like, you can't do that. My ego was like, you can't do it. You don't know what you're doing. And yeah, you have all this HR experience, right? Teams development. I did HR for 7 years, like degree, everything. I had so much credibility there offline, but I was like, I don't have this credibility online. I've never talked about really in-depth hiring and like affirmative action, all these things. And so I sat with that for like a day or two, and I was like, I don't want to feel like I'm profiting off of people's tears because that's not what I was trying to do. And so I had this like initial value conflict. But what came out of that was the idea that which would be harder for me to sit there and watch people continue to be uneducated and be misinformed when I like and just go about their business and not make any change, or could I with the intent of making a profit, and B, the deeper intent was to educate and inform and help people, which one superseded that? And you know, after a couple of days, I put my big girl panties on and I said, I don't care how uncomfortable this feels. I'm going to do the thing. And whether one person buys or 500 people buy, I don't care, because at least I know that I'm doing good in the world and I'm helping these people and I'm doing what God is calling me to do. So in that moment, I whipped up a checkout page because I was like, I don't know tons about DEI. Like I know enough. I am a person of the DEI, like diversity, equity, inclusion community, right? Like I'm a Black woman in America, right? I know a lot about it, but I'd never taught on it. So I was like, well, what I do know is, you know, at that point I was hiring my first team member in my business, and I had hired hundreds of people in corporate, and we had launched affirmative action plans. you guys don't know what affirmative action plans are, it's basically taking action to ensure that you have a diverse workplace, right? So as an HR manager, a regional HR business partner, my various roles, I was ahead of that, right? Separate from DEI, but we partner with DEI. And I was like, okay, this is my skill set, this is my expertise. But one person buys or 500, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to put this workshop up. I had never did a workshop before, not live like that people paid for. So I was like, well, I'm going to charge like $99 for it. And I'm going to teach people how to take affirmative action into their own businesses, because a lot of my peers at the time were hiring team members, and there's a lot of big influencers in the space I didn't know. And little old me, right at the time, I looked at myself as little old me, had this skill set, and I was like, I'm going to go for it. So I whipped up this checkout page on Kajabi, shout out Kajabi, and I posted it and I shared it. Had got put into this Instagram DM group with some really high level people, like I think I was in a group with Jenna Kutcher, Amanda Bucci, Allison Bird, Girl Boss, what's her name? I can't remember her name. Natalie from Girl Boss. Like, I got put in this group with like all these people. I was like, whoa, this is crazy. So I took the opportunity and I said, hey, if you guys could share this on your platforms, I have this workshop, like it could really help, please do so, right? My following overnight had grown like 6,000, 7,000 people in like literally not even a week, just because I was me and this body and this skin color, which I was so grateful for, you know. And then I shared it with those in that group chat. And before you knew it, I kid you not, I sold 332 spots for that workshop in literally like 3-4 days. I made over $32,000 in cash in like 3-4 days. I had never seen that amount of money in that short amount of time in my entire life. This is my second quantum leap. I was making around 20 to 30K months still in May 2020. And then overnight, what I was making in a month, I had made in 3 days. And then I went on to have June 2020 at the time had become my next highest month. And I had been in business less than a year. That month was, I think it was like, it was $70,000, around $70,000 cash, maybe a little bit more, and like a $90,000 sales month. Oh, I had like more than doubled my income in 1 month. And it was crazy. So what I took from that, the lesson I learned in that quantum leap was that, from selling that workshop, was that you're not always going to know the how. You just need to make a decision. And I had made a decision that I was going to do this workshop no matter what. I'm going to put it on. It wasn't done. I wasn't even built. I built it out the day before. I built it out in like 7 hours the day before I hosted it, because I put it up and then like a week later I was hosting it live. And I even sold a replay and a license. Like, it was crazy how much action and like money we made and impact we made. Really, that was the most important to me. The lesson I really took from that is that worrying about the how is irrelevant. The universe will always deliver once you make a decision. And I had made a decision. I'm gonna put it out there, and I did. I whipped up the checkout page in 10 minutes, made a Canva mock-up, like put it out there, and I asked people to help me, and they shared it, and they shared it, and they shared it, and literally my PayPal and Stripe was just bing. I never had seen anything like it, literally. So in that quantum leap, I really learned how to trust myself when I get a hit and a download, that, you know, when you ask the universe to provide, it will always deliver, period. So that was like a really magical quantum leap, because a year prior, I literally, June 2019, I moved to Arizona. My whole life was in shambles. And then a year later, I was making what I made in a year and a month. That was the first month I had made rough base cash, you know what I mean? Like, basically in sales wise, what I had made in a year in a month. And that was when I was like, this is it. This is where I'm supposed to be. This is where I'm supposed to be. And I knew it. So that was my second quantum leap. My third quantum leap was in October 2021. I have them pretty much every year. So my third quantum leap was in 2021. And it was October 2021. That was my first $100,000 cash month. So for me, that was a really inspiring quantum leap, because the 1% do this. $100,000 in a month, cash, crazy, right? And that quantum leap purely came out of innovation. That quantum leap purely came out of innovating, being creative, being in my feminine flow of wanting to do different because I was fed up. I was fucking fed up with, like, at the time I was running ads and they just were not converting, and I was just like getting pissed off, and I was like, F this, I'm going to figure out something else. I'm sick of looking at what everybody else is doing. I'm going to just do me. And at the time, I had started figuring it out in August 2021 because Instagram automation had just came out on ManyChat, and I was like, oh my gosh, if I can do an ad with Instagram automation to DM, golden, right? Because I was really adamant about making sure that the people that I was bringing into my community, into my audience, were the right types of people. And I felt like the ads that I was running before weren't quite hitting. So I literally put my head down for the month of August 2021, and I just built and created and tested. And before you knew it, my business was like, it had took a dip, in early 2021. It took a little bit of a dip, but I was like, boom, like August hit, and I was just like rapidly scaling. So then October comes around, and I was like, I didn't even set the intention to make $100,000 that month. I just set the intention to have a kick-ass month and to like try new things. And that was the coolest part about it, is like anytime I do something different than what I've been doing, that's when I have my quantum leaps. So what was different about October 2021 is like I had spent October and September testing and trialing and like figuring out this new method. And I was like, fuck it. It's getting bomb ass results for me. The couple handpicked clients that I chose, and I was like, let's get it. So I rolled it out. I rolled out like a beta test, and I said, hey, I'm going to do some done for you. And then I'm going to also sell a self-study course on this method. And I also was scaling my income with my method. So I was like, within 2 months, I had created this entire new system, and then I told the world about it. And I wasn't shy about it. And that's where my quantum leap came. And it was so funny because it was like October 31st, Halloween. And I think I woke up that morning at like $88,000 or $92,000 or something. And I was like, okay, how fucking cool would it be if I made $100,000 this month? Like, I was like, how cool would that be? And I was like, we got all day, let's get it. So I reached out. I opened up the spots for my self-study course because I think I had sold a couple, but I hadn't really talked about it. I opened up the spots for my self-study course. I fucking spit it out on Instagram. I did lives. I posted. I said, listen, I'm about $10,000 away from $100,000. My course is open. It was $1,500 at the time. Come get it. I'll even help you set it up. I was just like going balls to the wall. But like, it was fun. It wasn't like pressury. It wasn't like overwhelming. It was just like this magnetic energy that like filled my body. And like, I just was like, I'm going to go for it. I'm so close. I came so far, and I wasn't even trying hard. So I know if I even put a little more effort in today on the last day of the month, I can do it. So what did I do? Right? The last sale came in, my bestie Kara, she spent $37 on conversations that convert and put us over $100,000 mark. And a couple of my friends bought courses, and like clients, like it was just like magnetic. Like I look back and I'm like, I am so in awe of like me doing that. So the lesson that I took from that quantum leap, because I was around like 60K months, somewhere around there. We were doing well, of course, but to be able to go from like stagnant 50, 60, 70K months to over $100,000 without even like trying hard, the lesson I took out of that was like, you don't have to control everything. Because I think for a long time I was trying to control and like nail it down to a science, or like I have to do it this way, like living in these like binary rule books, when in reality I just needed to rethink and think differently. And that leads me to this quote in the U Squared book that I want to read. If you guys get the book, it's on page 11, or it's on page 12. And the reason I want to talk about this quote is because it's exactly what I did before I even knew that I was doing it. So this chapter is called Ignore Conventional Approaches, right? It says, get ruthless about trying something different. Ricochet. If you're trying to climb over the wall, open a door and walk through. If you're pushing against a river, try going with the flow. And on this page 12, right, He says this: ordinarily, we achieve conventional growth because we think along conventional lines. We experience reasonable performance gains because we rely on reasonable approaches. We find ways to make modest improvements in our level of success because we go looking for nothing more. Quantum leaps require you to abandon the status quo. Instead of once again trying what you've always done, maybe with even more intensity and determination, ignore the usual. U squared requires an abrupt change in behavior. Look for a paradoxical move. For example, consider reversing your field. Try being illogical, ricochet. If you're trying to climb over the wall, open a door and walk through. If you're pushing against the river, try going with the flow. Use finesse instead of effort. You must do something new. I'm going to skip this paragraph, but this next paragraph says, faith in the familiar sets the trap. And you spring it when you reinvest yourself in what logically seems like it should work because it usually worked in the past. To make a quantum leap, you've got to break out of the rut where you've been running. Second guess your routines, overcome the addiction to your old methodologies, set a new pattern. And there's more to this, but I think you guys understand it. Every quantum leap, I have challenged the norm. I have challenged the beliefs. Like before I really knew what I was consciously doing, because now I think I started really understanding this mostly in probably 2022, which is crazy because that's when I would say in 2022, I didn't really have any quantum leaps. And I'll talk about why in just a second. But when I think about being irrational and delusional and like radical in my thinking, like it was radical for me to be like, I just came up with this formula. 2 months later, I'm going to sell it to people. And every person that bought my Done For You got results. I was like, okay, well, that's proof, right? And I control the variables, but not in the old way of control. The old way of control for me was like, I need to know how. What's it going to be logical? Like, and that kept me in middle class thinking. That kept me stuck. That kept me hitting my upper limits because I kept trying to do the same thing over and over again, right? Faith in the familiar, like he says, sets a trap. And I think there's a time and a place for like doing what works, but also, can you do less effort? Can you have other people help you? Can you set it up in an automated way? Can you control different variables that you haven't before? Like looking at how can you finesse your results so you can get bigger, better results without trying so hard. And that's what happened to me in every single quantum leap, right? I stopped trying to be perfect. I stopped trying to control. I stopped trying to make it so hard. Because when I let go of all those beliefs and I let go of those old paradigms and like honestly those things that were clashing, right? Because it was like you want it to be easy, but you're making it hard. You want to have freedom, but you're trying to control everything. It didn't actually add up. So looking at all my 3 quantum leaps and now being in my 4th one here in June 2023, what I've realized is that you can decide to make a quantum leap at any time. When I look back at 2022, the reason why I pretty much stayed stagnant in our income really between, 70K and 100K a month, up, down, up, down, up, down. For one, and I take radical responsibility. I had a really big breakup in 2022. We broke up in March 2022. So I was really focusing on my self-healing journey. So although I didn't have a quantum leap in my financial success, right, I did have a quantum leap in my health goals, in my health journey, right? I had been trying for years to lose weight. And then one day I decided I'm done. Decision made. I'm going to try a different approach. I'm not going to count every calorie. I'm not going to punish myself. I'm not going to restrict, right? I just started walking every day. I started, realizing that I am health and that healthy habits, I am a healthy person. So I'm going to do healthy things more than I'm not going to do that. And literally in February 2022, I think I lost 12 pounds. Not unhealthily. I was still doing what I wanted, eating appropriate amount of calories, right? I was in a deficit, of course, whatever. But there's a reason why, right? I quantum leaped to my health. I had been trying to lose those freaking pounds from COVID and more, and I lost it all. The bulk of my weight I lost in 3 months. So although I didn't have a quantum leap in my financial success, I took the same principles of not trying to control, not trying hard. I didn't kill myself in the gym. I didn't kill myself on my diet. I refused to do that. I was not available for that. And that's why I lost nearly 40 pounds in a year without even trying hard. So when I look back at all these quantum leaps, and granted, I mostly talked about financial and then my health in 2022, and now having another quantum leap financially, 2023, June 2023, I look at all those principles and lessons that I learned, and now I can compound that faster, quicker over time. And I realized, and I'm realizing, quantum leaps are just one decision away. It's a decision. It's not worrying about the how. It's realizing that it's all available to you no matter what. And not worrying about how it's going to happen, when it's going to happen, who it's going to take. The universe responds when you decide, right? And what I think is really brilliant is that we as humans over any other species, like, we have control. We have massive control over our desires and what we want. We don't have to go in subsequential order. We don't have to go one by one by one. We can go 1 to 10, 10 to 100, 100 to 300. And that's why it's like not crazy that I built a 7-figure business in less than really 2.5 years, right? And if I would have understood this even sooner, I would have built that business shorter, right? And now on our next big goal of $10 million a year, like, we're going to do that in 2024. Period, right? Unless my goal changes. But it's about looking at the end goal and realizing that the barriers in our mind are the only barriers that exist. And your quantum leap is already here. The money that you want is here. The weight loss, like, the body that you want exists. It already is available to you. It's just deciding that you're worthy of it, that you're capable of it, and you're not gonna and that you're not going to make it harder than it needs to be, right? And it's about, if I could also pinpoint one last thing about quantum leaps, it's about taking the easy way, right? It's about taking the easy way. You get no badge of honor by taking the hard way. Maybe you think you do, but you don't. So why not just take things the easy way, right? Like, I got to 7 figures by I sold that workshop and a couple self-study courses here and there, but for the most part, I've sold high ticket $6,000, $10,000, $20,000 programs, because I'm like, I can either try to sell a bunch of $27 products, or I can sell $10,000 products that are going to get me there way faster. And even now I'm collapsing the time of like, okay, what does it look like selling $25,000 programs, or $50,000, or, I just created a $100,000 offer. Right? If you want to work with me one-to-one, that's where we're at. And I just think it's so beautiful and so brilliant that we can literally shrink the time and collapse it, and like, we leap as big as we want. So quantum leaps are here to stay, y'all. You're probably like, if you got called to this podcast episode, you're probably in the middle of a quantum leap or about to step into one. And the biggest advice I can give to you is that most people are not going to get it. You may be judged. You may judge yourself through it, but just stay the course and trust that it's already available to you. Because it takes courage to quantum leap. It's scary. It can be, right? It can completely rock your world in so many different ways. It takes a lot of courage, but I promise you, on the other side of it, it's worth it, right? So it's about backing up and getting into that belief, and everything else will follow. Belief plus manifestation plus action equals result. So quantum leaping isn't some magical thinking. It's not something that's fake or far away. It's as close to you as your breath. That's what my mentor David says. It's as close to you as your breath. And when I look back at all my quantum leaps and the one that we're in now, it literally feels effortless, and like there are no limits. So lean in, trust your abilities. Fear will come up. Take it in and let it go. You are safe, you are capable, and you are far beyond ready for this quantum leap that you're about to experience. So, quantum leaps are in season, baby. They are. And I am so excited to be a witness to all of you. Feel free to send me a DM on Instagram and let me know what you're experiencing, and if this podcast episode touched your heart or your mind or your soul in any way. Because it's safe to have a quantum leap. It's safe to go big. If you want an extraordinary life, you have to be willing to do unordinary things, and quantum leaps are a part of that. I promise you it's worth it, though. So stay the course, quantum leap, and let's go after it. Hope this podcast episode was inspiring, and I'm sending you all the love and all the well wishes as you get ready to navigate your own quantum leap. I'll keep you guys updated on ours, this new one. I'm so excited. I'm feeling the vibes, and I can't wait to share with you guys more. So hopefully this podcast episode was helpful, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.